they didn't let a Super Bowl winning coach choose his own coaches, and they are letting a 39-year-old first-time coach with, let's be honest, no experience. Now,
all right, 21 past 4 o'clock hour. Very busy Tuesday. Rich Quinones here. Don't forget, you guys can always connect. We'll open up in a couple moments at 609-445-1490 at 1490 Sportsbet, at Rich Q on Q. Finally, the Eagles have made it official, announcing the hiring of Nick Sirianni, which, okay, we were just waiting for everything to kind of fold. And then you saw a couple movements there with Taylor and then Deuce. And I talked a little bit about this last week. I mean, it's just, at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. And I think Deuce just decided, you know what? It's in my best interest if I take it elsewhere. Now he's got to worry about Dan Campbell. I'm wondering, too, I'd be a little nervous on that sideline, too. You know, Campbell came out and was just talking about, biting knees and doing all this other stuff. And I don't know, if I'm Deuce, I'm steering clear of that a little bit. All right, as we do every Tuesday. Football on the 20s. We welcome in our good friend, Johnny Mac. John McMullen does a wonderful job covering the NFL, Eagles Insider, also host of Extending the Play every Saturday right here on 1490 from 10 to 11. You get the football fix with him and Rothstein every Monday to Friday at 10:30. Also SI Now, the Philly voice, to middle with those guys during the day. So he's all over the place, but he's kind enough to give us a couple moments on a nasty, rainy Tuesday down the shore. This is hot toddy fireplace kind of weather, is it not?
Yeah, it's nasty. But I got to disagree with you on Deuce. I mean, Deuce is a football guy. That's the ultimate football guy coaching staff
I know,
in the
but
NFL right now.
I know,
he wants
man.
to fight some kneecaps, too.
I mean, I'm listening to his press conference, and by the way, so Dan Campbell, right? Dan Campbell had one of the greatest catches you'll ever – I think this was 97-98, the old vet Giants against Eagles. That's the only thing I remember Dan Campbell as. We'll see how it works out with Deuce, but I thought you mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it on your show. I think ultimately at the end of the day, what do you have to do, right? You have to turn around and you got to do what's best for you. And I just think Deuce is doing what he feels is best for him.
Yeah, I mean, he hit the glass ceiling here. There's no question about it. So there was no room for advancement. That was made pretty clear, not just this time, but over a number of years, that he wasn't going to reach any higher in this organization. His ultimate goal is to be a head coach in this league. So, yeah, I kind of said it. I've been saying it for a while. He's got to go elsewhere, and he's got to find a different path, because he wasn't going to find that path through Jeffrey Lurie, and it was pretty evident. And he's well liked. The fans love him, but you got to do what's best for you. And by the way, I think in all seriousness, I know everybody's having fun with Dan Campbell, but that's the kind of guy Deuce is, and blocking tight ends, running back. We're going to see. In a lot of ways, maybe that might be the ultimate coaching staff for Philadelphia, at least how fans want the team to be. I'm not sure you can win that way, but we're going to find out, because they're going to try to run the football.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So your guy, Press Taylor, out. So he's not going to return.
Yeah, shocker. He was the scapegoat. I was surprised, and that's my buddy Mike Kay. I mean, were people questioning whether Press was coming back?
I don't know.
They scapegoated him. He's the reason they fired the head coach. We all knew he wasn't coming back.
It is really remarkable. I mean, it's that domino effect, right? And as you alluded, and we've seen it in the NFL over years. We've seen it so many times where you get rid of the head coach, and all of a sudden, you know what? We have to make it look like it wasn't just one hit. We got to whack everyone else kind of involved. And I think, is this telling you right now that? Remember with Chip, they tried to basically just get that nasty taste out of their mouth. And obviously with Doug, it wasn't a nasty taste because they won a Super Bowl a couple years ago. But do you get the sense that they are now being a little, I don't know. I don't want to say open-minded with this new head coach where, okay, you know what? This is going to be your show. You run it the way you want to run it.
Yeah, I mean, they're letting him choose his coaches for the most part. They encouraged him, let's put it that way, to keep Jeff Stoutland, and that's looks like it's pretty much it. Even Dave Phipp, who's another coach, they probably steered him towards he's going to leave, go with Deuce to Detroit. So really, Stoutland's probably going to be, there might be a couple. Ryan Paganetti's not going anywhere. The analytics game day manager guy, he's not going anywhere. But so there's some low-level guys that might stick around. But as far as the high-profile members of the coaching staff, they led, which is so interesting on so many levels because they didn't let a Super Bowl winning coach choose his own coaches. And they are letting a 39-year-old first-time coach with, let's be honest, no experience. Now, hey, maybe he's Vince Lombardi. I don't know. But it is strange. I will say that. They're letting him pick his guys.
Yeah, it is. And I always thought, here's another reason why I thought the more I really think about it, John, is Carson's not going anywhere. You don't want to put so much strain on a first-year head coach, a young guy who is a first-time head coach. I'm not talking about, like, say, a veteran Rivera who's bounced around and now at Washington and not had that quarterback position stabilized. You're not going to go into a season and not have it stabilized.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they learn something from the Jalen Hurts pick. I mean, this league isn't about dual quarterbacks and having depth at that position and – the cliche is true. If you got two quarterbacks, you don't have any. So you got to choose one. And it might only be for 1 year. I talked about Carson Wentz a lot and just the money and the financial aspect. I mean, it's going to be really difficult for the Eagles to get rid of him this year. Maybe after next season, it's a little bit more palatable. And then you look at outside the league, Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
Let's be honest. I mean, he's much more desirable for teams than Carson Wentz at this point. If Aaron Rodgers ever became available, I mean, forget about it. Deshaun Watson, the same. There's going to be a lot of options for teams looking for quarterbacks, and I don't think Carson after this season is going to be high on those lists. And I think at some point he's got to realize that as well. Not just the Eagles. Carson's got to realize that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I want to listen. We got plenty of time with the Eagles in the offseason, but I want to get your thoughts, being the NFL aficionado that you are, loving Aaron Rodgers the way that a man truly should love a woman faithfully, respectfully for 30, 40 years, and then having to watch that head coach, the audacity, Johnny Mac, to not even give the ball to the MVP's hands and take a shot late. And you've realized in that situation, offensive possessions, they were at a premium. Now, I get it. He should have ran on third down, but still, how do you take the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands? You're basically saying, I don't trust you to make a play right here.
Well, you don't, number one. And I think a lot of ways, what speaks to Aaron Rodgers' greatness is that Matt LaFleur has won 80% of his games because he is a horrible football coach. But that tells you what wins in this league is personnel and talent. And you can overcome bad coaching in a lot of ways. In an instance like that, a coach is more likely to lose you a game than win you a game. Now, that said, Aaron had plenty of chances. That wasn't his best game. Is pretty clear. Devontae Adams as well had a poor game. You never see that.
Drops.
So it was one of those things, and it happens when you see upsets in this league. I talk about it all the time. Generally, you got to get the C game out of the favorites team, and you got to play your A game, and that's what happened, at least for the first half. I mean, obviously, Tom started to turn the football over a little bit, and if he didn't do that, Green Bay probably wouldn't have even been in the game. So they didn't play well. Obviously, it was a terrible decision. I think even Matt acknowledged that. But what's worse, Rich, I don't know if you heard Aaron's press conference after the game.
I did.
He had no idea if he was going to go for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
So if you're a head coach in this league and you're in that situation, you got to think ahead and you got to say, do we have 2 downs here or 1 down?
Yeah, but,
and they didn't even know that.
But John,
and that to me is a bigger issue than the actual poor decision. It really is.
But hasn't Aaron Rodgers earned the right to base? How do I say this? Not wave off the coach, but just, hey, you know what? Get the field goal unit back off there. No. It's fourth down. Like there's got to be a sense of urgency there. Like, you realize that the season is on the line. You're in the NFC Championship game. You're going to get maybe one more crack at it. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm deciding that.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Right?
But I do think, and I'm going to defend who I think is a bad coach right now. I do think a lot of fans and even media members think there's, 45 minutes between plays. I mean, this stuff happens bang, bang, bang. It's not like you get there and sit there and start to think, oh, I'm going to wave it off. I mean, you're going. And that's the head coach's decision. And do I? Yeah, I mean, I would. I've always said, and I used to criticize Chip Kelly for this. If you have a quarterback like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers who can handle things at the line of scrimmage, and you're trying to take that away from them, you're probably not a good coach. There's ego getting involved there. But, I mean, that's the system Green Bay has set up, and that stuff happens quick. Matt LaFleur got criticized at the end of the first half for not waving off Mike Pettin. It's like, what do you think? He's got 25 minutes?
No,
that's
yeah.
The defensive coordinator.
That's a horrible lapse.
That's a poor call. Yep. That's a poor decision. Yeah. You can't overrule that in that quick of a time.
Yeah.
If you got a timeout, you can argue you can blow a timeout. But, I mean, people they don't realize it's like a fire drill on these sidelines if you've ever been during a game. I mean, this stuff happens quickly.
Do you think that Rodgers was sending a message with those post-game comments? I mean, now, again, according I'm reading these reports from league sources, right? We know how this works. He wants a new contract now. Now, if he wants a new contract, he makes $33.5 million. I pulled this up. He's going to win the MVP. He's getting up there in age, but yet he's still playing at a ridiculous level. But if you look over the next couple of years, he's due to make $22.3, $25.5, $25.5 in 2003. Is this, I want a new contract, or if I don't get it, trade me?
Well, it's going to be really difficult. I mean, it's pretty. Aaron hasn't liked that organization for a while. We've talked about that for quite a bit. It's similar to the Carson situation, not from a playing standpoint, but from a financial standpoint. Green Bay probably can't get out of it till 2022. So he doesn't have a ton of leverage because he just signed an extension. But yeah, he definitely left things open-ended. He texted. I told that on our show. He texted Zach Ertz after the Eagles played and said, "Where we're playing together next year." But I mean, that's just a little poking some fun between some players. But he doesn't have a ton of leverage. He's probably got to go back there. He's probably not going to be happy about it. But he did leave things open-ended after the game on the press conference. Today was on Pat McAfee's show and kind of shut people down and called them D-bags for speculating and all that kind of stuff. I got news for you. I mean, Aaron is a classic D-bag himself.
I mean, he's got a puss on his face. He's the type of guy.
To leave it open-ended. Yeah. And that's, he is what he is.
Yeah.
And he's, a lot of his teammates don't like him. He's very aloof. Some of the same criticisms you hear about Carson Wentz. Difference is he performed.
That's right. Yeah, I give you $1 million. You're complaining that the bag's too heavy. Lastly, AFC side, I told you this Saturday on extending a play. I thought this game had the makings of a 35-10 and Buffalo jumping out to the lead. But then once Kansas City takes the lead, you basically knew the game was over. I mean, it's just they're really playing at a different level. I was a little disappointed, too, of how Allen played and his demeanor with some plays and, when things kind of go south. And, I mean, look, Kansas City, I thought the difference in that game, too, is they limited Allen's ability at times. Now, he still rushed for right around 88. I think that was out of necessity, but they were able to sack him 4 or 5 times. They put a lot of pressure coming up the gut, too, against Allen. And then one of our players that we always talk about, Diggs, quiet, 6 for 77. Beasley got into the mix, but they were never really able. Once Kansas City went up 21-12, in my estimation, the game was over. I just didn't see Buffalo coming back.
Yeah, it was, in hindsight, it was a game where, Buffalo had a great season, obviously, and they took a major step forward, but they just weren't ready for that kind of competition. They weren't ready for that team, and it was pretty evident they got punched in the mouth. You're a boxing guy, and they didn't get up. They were like, oh, okay, we're overmatched. And they I think they kind of all realized that very quickly. I do give Spagnuolo credit for, a lot of that's what he came up with, a lot of blitzes off the edge to keep Allen in the pocket as much as possible. And, he didn't play well, and it turned into really it was more of a blowout than even the score indicated. You never had a feeling that maybe the Bills were going to come back in this game. They just weren't in Kansas City's class. And look, that's a very good team. But I will say, and we got a lot of time to talk about this, obviously, with the extra week, but boy, that Eric Fisher injury late, that is big. That is big.
The way Tampa's defense has been playing.
Because one of the strengths of Tampa Bay is JPP and Shaq Barrett. And you saw that pass rush against Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay, which has a good offensive line, even without Bakhtiari, still good. In Kansas City, that offensive line, oof.
But, it's always the timing, right? You want to get healthy at the right time, and you don't want to lose all pros, going into the Super Bowl. And you mentioned Tampa Bay's defense. I mean, they harass. JPP loves playing against Tom Brady. I mean, he was just a man among boys. And I'll tell you, too, something else. You know who's a player? Devin White. That kid can flat out play.
Oh, yeah. He's been great in the playoffs. I mean, great. And he's so athletic. And, people around this league talk about the linebacker position, and people don't think it's as valuable as it once was, almost like running back is to the offense. But I got news for you. When you got a good one that can play all 3 downs and is good in coverage, can stop the run, can blitz, they're worth their weight in gold. There's not a lot of them, but he's one of them. And that defense is all of a sudden – it doesn't look great on paper because they didn't have big names, at least the secondary in the back 7. But White is turning into a star, and those edge rushers. I mean, look, Patrick Mahomes is great, but if you got Mike Remmers playing left tackle against JPP,
that's a mismatch.
I don't know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, that's definitely a mismatch. But like you said, we got a week plus to get into that game. Kansas City right now laying 3.5 at open. But it'll be fascinating. It is remarkable. Everyone now will talk, I would say, over the next 2 or 3 days, and then you really start to get into the game, Belichick or was it Brady? System. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they're 2 all-time greats. Tom Brady is just... He's one of those athletes that 20, 30, 40 years from now will look at him like, they're going to look at LeBron in the NBA like they looked at, Magic, and Bird and Jordan, like they looked at, Gretzky, and Lemieux and the like. I mean, it's remarkable. I don't know other words to describe at his age to play at the level that he's playing, and not only to go into a new team, new system, new environment, but he has totally changed a culture now where he's got these guys believing that they're going to win every time out, and then to go on the road and win road playoff games, it's really remarkable.
Oh, I mean, you can look at all the numbers, and we talked about the number of championship games, basically double number 2. The playoff wins more than most franchises in NFL. I mean, more than most teams have in their entire lifespans. And you talk about the touchdown passes, which are basically double number 2. All those numbers, to me, that kind of stuff is secondary to the fact, 2 things. At 43, it is amazing You saw Drew Brees. It is amazing the juice he has left in that arm. And then everything, obviously, in the Delaware Valley comes back to Carson Wentz. You go all the way back to the start of this season, the off season, the pandemic hitting. You remember Tom Brady's in parks when he's not supposed to be working. You know, and you can sit on your high horse and give moral judgments, but the thing that defines the truly great
it's
players,
what separates them. Yep.
And you mentioned NBA players, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. Any sport, is work ethic, and they never stop. And that's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And that's Tom Brady, and that's the difference between him and just about every other quarterback in this league. And always working to improve, always looking for a slight advantage. And that stuff is stuff coaches can't help you with. Talent, necessarily God-given ability, doesn't help you with. You got to marry that with that work ethic, and he does.
Yeah, that's not taught. You're born with that, and that's just a will to be the best out there. All right, we will catch you tonight with Mr. Rothstein at 10:30 throughout the week, and then, of course, Saturday 10 to 11 right here on AM 1490 with extending the play, and then sporadically throughout the week with the middle guys, Aton and those guys. You're all over the place, Johnny Mac. You're like a map. You cover everything.
Too much, according to some people.
Yeah. Never here, my friend.
Never know.
All right,
I'm a
pal.
hard worker.
Yeah, it's innate. You got it. All right. Appreciate it, John.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
All right. Our good friend, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. Great stuff. 4:42, quick timeout.